some walking with the Lord,
off,
some
motherfucker.
empowering each and every one of your listeners to.
Nah, yuck. I don't even want to listen to that shit. What the fuck? Yeah, folks, don't matter how much money you steal, how many airplanes you have, how many people follow you around and think you're cool, you're never going to ever be able to even access the information of who you fucked with. You have no access to the information of who I am. It's not something that you're privy to. But at one day old on this planet, I have more power than you'll ever have in your entire life. So go fuck yourself, peon. And I ain't trying to rub it in, but you don't know what you did. You have no idea what you did. There's a court of law that you're not allowed to know about either. There's rules to what happens for you people. There are rules that you cannot escape that exist in courts you do not know about. You coming after my life is way different than you coming after anybody else's. That's all I'm gonna say. Because that's all I can say. I'm not allowed to tell you any more than that. Yeah, sorry. Not allowed to tell you. But I can tell you, you made a mistake when you fucked with me. I mean, I'm not bragging, and that's all I can say. You're not ever gonna see anybody coming if they're coming about this. You ain't gonna see it. Mm. Oh well. There's some power structures that exist that you're not aware of. You'll never know about. Hmm. Yeah, you're not even. You can't even. Yeah, I mean, you can't obtain the information about who I am because you're not allowed to know, and I'm not allowed to tell you. It has nothing to do with any kind of law enforcement or anything like that. My heritage, my genes, my genealogy, who I am, it's information you're not privy to. But I can assure you, you shouldn't have fucked with me. The more you're fucking with me, the more you're fucking with yourself. I'm telling you right now, without a dime in my pocket, I'm more powerful than you with $1 billion in your pocket. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. Yepers. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Boy, you don't understand, folks. You're not allowed to understand.
NFTs plus Amazon, and you get. That's even those of you who talk about the 1%, you don't really get what's going on.
Trying to tell you.
You're never going to meet these people. You're never going to have any sense of what it is that they control. And most people, I think, have no idea. People like Teddy Roosevelt, who are willing to say this is a bad thing. We do not want the society that is emerging here. These are people who have a lot of influence because of the amount of money they control. If you have conversations with people who are not in this business, they have no idea
Where the dabs
what real
at,
wealth
baby?
means in America. They think that having $1 million makes you wealthy. They think that, or having a salary of several $100,000 makes you wealthy. And while it's certainly true, that's a vastly privileged condition compared with most people. The sheer size of those big fortunes is so far outside our normal experience that it does become invisible. You're never going to meet these people. You're never going to have any sense of what it is that they control. And most people, I think, have no idea. This is very strange, and it's kind of scary because it's one thing if someone without a lot of power seems to be going off and into a rage for no good reason, but these are people who have a lot of influence because of the amount of money they control. Even those of you who talk about the 1%, you don't really get what's going on. You are living in the past. You're living in the 80s. You think that Gordon Gekko is the future. And Gordon Gekko is a bad guy, he's a predator, but he's a self-made predator. We are on the road not just to a highly unequal society, but to a society of an oligarchy, a society of inherited wealth, patrimonial capitalism. If you have a large fortune, suppose that our family has a large fortune, inheritors of that large fortune can live very, very well. They can live extraordinary standard of living and still put a large fraction of the income from that fortune aside, and the fortune will grow faster than the economy. So the big dynastic fortunes tend to take an ever-growing share of total national wealth. So when you have a situation where the returns on capital are pretty high and the growth rate of the economy is not that high, you have a situation in which not only can people live well off inherited wealth, but they can actually pass on to the next generation even more, an even higher share. And when you have a high R, low G economy, which is what we now have, then you're talking about a situation in which dynasties come increasingly to dominate the top of the economic spectrum, and a tiny fraction of the population ends up very dominant. When you have a few people who are so wealthy that they can effectively buy the political system is going to tend to serve their interests, and that is going to reinforce this shift of income and wealth towards the top. The story is already changing, and it's going to change more. So we are going to probably, unless something gets better, we're going to look back nostalgically on the early 21st century when you could still at least have the pretense that the wealthy actually earned their wealth. And by the year 2030, it'll all be inherited. Even though the ideology is democratic, even though we claim that all men are equal, in practice, not a chance. They've managed to convince a lot of people that it is somehow un-American. I think mostly it's just because there's a very effective apparatus of TV and print media and think tanks and so on who hammer against any suggestion of redistribution, which actually, if you look at American history, that's not at all true, but I think that is a big difference between us and Europe. Take a few percent. We only escaped from the old oligarchy for a while, thanks to really, that it didn't spring out of nowhere. That we had a progressive move before FDR moved into the White House. And so I think there are better angels of our nature. That there is this ugliness, and which can be frightening, but there is also a redemptive streak.
You fuck with me and I'm gonna kill you. Come here, baby. Mm-hmm. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, here they go. Fucking fumigate me. You're good. You don't know what you're fucking with, people. But you're gonna find out. I'm telling you right now. You're gonna find out. You're gonna find out, man. I'm telling you right now. Mhm. 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 I love you, Beanie.
In our own minds, we usually place ourselves in the social class in which we were raised. For me, like many Americans, that means middle class. But the truth is that the social classes in the United States are rapidly pulling away from one another. The emerging class system looks different, with its casual dress codes and somewhat greater variety of skin tones and ethnicities, but we are accomplices in a process that is strangling the economy, destabilizing our politics, and eroding democracy. There's a familiar story about rising inequality in the United States. The villains are the plutocrats, the fat cats, the tech bros, and the rest of the so-called 1%. The good guys are the 99%, also known as the people. In fact, it's the top 0.1% who have been the big winners in wealth over the past 50 years. Their share of the pie climbed from 10% in 1963 to more than 22% today. But not everybody below them had to give up something. Only the bottom 90% did. In between, there's a third group that has held onto its share of the wealth year after year. Let's call it the 9.9%. The 9.9% is rich in more than mere money. It has substantially lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. It marries later and has more stable family structures. It lives in gilded neighborhoods with richer social networks and vastly better educational opportunities. And it is able to pass all of this along to its offspring, leaving the bottom 90% in the dust. We like to pretend that none of this matters because in the land of opportunity, everybody has a chance to make it. But in fact, social mobility is lower here than in many other developed countries, and it's been going down. Aristocrats take wealth out of productive activities and invest it in walls. They lock themselves and their offspring in place at the expense of other people's children. The escalating inequality of our time appears new, but if you take in a broad sweep of history, starting, say, with the Great Pyramids of Egypt, inequality looks like the norm of human experience. History tells us that aristocrats come to believe in their own propaganda, that their superiority is an artifact of nature. Today's 9.9% has convinced themselves they don't have any privileges, and the delusions are understandable. A strange truth about rising inequality is that even as it locks our privileges in place, it doesn't seem to make things that much easier. That's because the greater the inequality, the less your money buys. Our insecurity grows as the chasm beneath us expands. Rising inequality leads to political instability and typically ends in catastrophic violence. Still, there have been exceptions. America's founders were mostly 9.9%ers, but they turned their backs on the man at the top in order to create a government by and for the people. Reversing the calcifying effects of rising inequality isn't just a matter of helping out the less fortunate. The challenge we face now is to renew the promise of American democracy.
Mhm.